Hey guys, before we start this week's episode off, I just want to remind everyone that this is an adult show. It's intended for mature audiences only. I mean, you should already know this since we're marked explicit on iTunes, but I'm not 100% sure it shows as explicit in other places. I mean, anyone who's heard the show before knows that things sometimes get somewhat inappropriate. But if you're new to the show, well, look, if you're easily offended, or highly religious, or you're a time traveler from Victorian times, or if you're somebody's kid who really shouldn't be listening to an explicit podcast in the first place, stop listening now. I mean it. If you end up scandalized or traumatized or juvenile delinquentized by not heeding my warning and listening anyway, well, I can't be held responsible.
Wouldn't it be weird if you died, and you woke up, and you were in heaven? Just like they always told you. And everybody had wings on and pearly gates. Wouldn't you feel stupid? Oh no! You mean that this is what? Oh! In college they said this was all bullshit. Oh, I'll just come in and... What? You been keeping records on me? Well, it wasn't so bad. How many times did I take the Lord's name in vain? Ooh. 1,000,006. Oh. Jesus Christ.
Where are we?
Right now you're in a kind of a limbo. You're neither here nor there.
Where are we?
Between light and shadow.
Hey kids, it's Craig, and this is Between Light and Shadow, one of the many Twilight Zone podcasts currently floating around in the RSS sphere. Are we the most downloaded? No. Are we the least? Also, no. So we're somewhere in the middle. Not the brightest success, not the darkest failure. Between light and shadow. You know, I wonder if we are doomed to always be in the middle of the pack because of our name. Maybe we should change it to above light and shadow or beyond light and shadow, just to see what happens. You know, it's weird that there are so many Twilight Zone podcasts out there. I mean, it's good in a way. It means there's an audience for them. It means the fandom remains strong nearly 60 years after the show first premiered. But there's also a potential downside.
No tomatoes. Too vulnerable. Everybody's pushing small-town rural. Farm book would just be white noise.
Well, we obviously aren't writing farm-based children's books here, but I think you get what I'm saying. If there's a whole bunch of people talking about the same thing, all competing for your attention, doesn't it all just sort of blend together? I mean, how do you as a listener choose? In recent weeks, no less than 3 new Twilight Zone podcasts have appeared, and in the interest of fair play, I will mention them. There's The Rod Squad, there's Random Serling, and Sound, Sight, and Mind Traveling Through the Twilight Zone. That last one's got kind of a long name. That makes 12 different Twilight Zone podcasts. And that's not even including the ones who ran their course and are no longer releasing new episodes. These are all currently active podcasts predominantly concerned with the Twilight Zone. 12. Now, I'm a hardcore fan, and there's no way even I could keep up with that many. I mean, it's nice to have options, but sheesh, it's overwhelming. We've been doing the show for over a year now, and we're still here. And people are still downloading and or streaming us, so I'll take that as a good sign that in some small way at least, we're rising above the sea of chatter, or at the very least, staying afloat. Thanks to all of you who have discovered us, enjoyed us, and have stuck with us. We really do appreciate every last one of you. Now, if you're not familiar with what we do here, our basic format is as follows. We take an episode from the first season of The Twilight Zone and pair it with a later episode from the other 4 seasons, one with some level of similarity, plot, device, theme, whatever. We then put them through our own patented analysis process and, at the end of it all, declare a victor. Spoiler alert, the first season episode usually wins. Usually, not always. Now, this is by no means a set-in-stone formula. We deviate it actually on a fairly regular basis. Sometimes we'll use an episode from the more recent Twilight Zone series as our secondary contender. Say if it's a remake or something, we'll compare it against the original. Spoiler alert, the original always wins. There's also that rare occasion when we venture outside of the Twilight Zone entirely for our second bite at the episodic television apple. And this happens to be one of those rare occasions. But before we get to that, we've got the star attraction to deal with first. Kids, I give you A Nice Place to Visit, which first aired April 15th, 1960.
Portrait of a man at work. The only work he's ever done. The only work he knows. His name is Henry Francis Valentine, but he calls himself Rocky, because that's the way his life has been. Rocky and perilous and uphill at a dead run all the way. He's tired now. Tired of running or wanting, of waiting for the breaks that come to others but never to him. Never to Rocky Valentine.
We're in a pawn shop at night, and that little punk Rocky Valentine is heisting the joint. There's an old guy lying on the floor, apparently cold-cocked, or worse. I mean, he's clearly not dead. You can see him moving a little bit in his very first shot. Now, the next time we see him, he's not moving at all. So I'm guessing blooper? Probably not visible on those 9-inch TV screens in 1960, but obvious as hell on the 60-plus inch high-def sets of today. Ah, crap, the Popo's on the scene. Rocky runs for it, but first, in a deeply perplexing move, he dumps his paper bag full of stolen jewelry out onto the sidewalk before he splits. I mean, I don't know, maybe he dropped it out of panic, but it doesn't look like it. It kind of looks intentional. He didn't save himself any time by doing it either. Now, I've never been a robber or a jewel thief, but maybe if he's not holding the merchandise when he's caught, then maybe he's only on the hook for breaking and entering? If anyone out there works in either law enforcement or jewel store robbery, hit me up after the show. Now, being the bright guy that he is, Rocky runs straight down an alley with a high wall blocking his exit.
Stop! Stop or I'll shoot! At this time, you lousy screw!
Hey, that was my college nickname. How did he... And partway up the wall, and he's hit. He's down. Is he dead?
A scared, angry little man. He thinks it's all over now, but he's wrong. For Rocky Valentine, it's just the beginning.
So, not dead then? Back from commercial, and Rocky's flat on his back on the sidewalk, not moving. A dapper pair of patented white leather shoes walks up to him. Well, okay, not just the shoes. There are legs attached. White panted legs.
Mr. Valentine. Mr. Valentine.
Rocky stirs. Okay, confirmed. Not dead.
Who are you? My name is Pip. Can I help you?
How do you know my name?
It's my job to know everything about you. I'm your guide, as it were.
Guide, huh? I need like a hole in the head.
Now, if you don't recognize Pip's face, you almost certainly recognize his voice. This is Sebastian Cabot, who lent his voice to several Disney films in the 60s, including The Jungle Book.
Many strange legends are told of these jungles of India, but none so strange as the story of a small boy named Mowgli. It all began when the silence of the jungle was broken by an unfamiliar sound.
The Sword in the Stone.
And below the hilt, in letters of gold, were written these words: Whoso pulleth out this sword of this stone and anvil is rightwise king, born of England. Though many tried for the sword with all their strength, none could move the sword nor stir it. So the miracle had not worked, and England was still without a king. And in time, the marvelous sword was forgotten.
But Disney got the most mileage out of his distinctive pipes in The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, where he served as the narrator.
I'll talk from page 41 to page 62. And on page 62, the blustery day turned into a blustery night. To Pooh, it was a very anxious sort of night, filled with anxious sorts of noises. And one of the noises was a sound that had never been heard before.
Cabot can also be found in 1960's The Time Machine, where he played a colleague of that dreamy scoundrel Rod Taylor.
Really, Philby, surely they taught you something in school?
Suppose you explain it, Doctor.
Huh? Oh, certainly. Well, for example, when I move in a straight line, forward or backward, that's one dimension. And when I move to the left or right, 2 dimensions. And when I move up or down, 3 dimensions.
Yes, but what is the 4th dimension?
Oh, well, that's it. Oh, that's mere theory. No one really knows what the 4th dimension is, or even that it exists.
On the contrary, Doctor. The 4th dimension is as real and true a dimension as any of the other 3.
If Wikipedia is to be believed, Cabot's best remembered for the 5 years he played Mr. French on TV's Family Affair, which, I don't know, I've never seen it. It's only streaming on Amazon, and they want $1.99 per episode. I already pay way too much for streaming services for that kind of nonsense.
What happened? You had a slight accident. Oh, but don't worry, you'll be as fit as a new fiddle soon. Now, I'm sure you'd like to change out of those rumpled clothes, eh, Mr. Valentine?
All right, hold it a minute. Let me clue you, fatso. I don't like games.
Oh, but that isn't true, Mr. Valentine. Why, you like roulette, blackjack, poker, craps, and between the ages of 7 and 10, you were quite fond of mumbledy-peg.
That reminds me of something my daughter said a couple of years ago. Her mom was mad about something, and she said something to the effect of, "I'm not in the mood for games," to which Kendall calmly replied, "So I guess Uno is out of the question?" Yeah, she is her father's daughter.
My job is to see to it that you get what you want, whatever it may be.
Yeah? In exchange for what?
Nothing at all, Mr. Valentine. It's absolutely free.
Don't put me on, fatso. Nothing's free. Nothing. Anything I ever got in this lousy world, I had to drag out of it, so don't put me on. All right, let's see. All right, give me your wallet, Cracker. Come on.
It isn't a wallet you want, is it? No. It's money.
Pip produces a thick stack of bills.
$700.
Will that be enough for now, sir?
Got more?
Oh, yes, as much as you want. Now, shall we?
It's interesting. Rocky doesn't seem to remember that he was just shot, almost fatally, during his bungled jewel store heist. Rocky, incidentally, is played by Larry Blyden in the first of 2 Twilight Zones. He'll return in Season 2 for Showdown with Rance McGrew, one of the rare Serling comedies that isn't god-awful.
Left and right. He glances left and right. What do you think my head is on, a swivel? Listen, Si, when a cowboy walks into a bar, he walks straight to the other end of the room. Then he takes his drink and he looks at that. Then he looks straight ahead. Doesn't look left and right.
Larry Blyden was a Tony-winning Broadway actor and game show host.
And the host of Wet My Line, Larry Blyden.
Well, here we are, met once again.
Here we are.
That's a very snazzy outfit that you ladies are wearing individually there. They're very evening-y. Are long dresses really kind of back now? More?
They are on this panel.
I hate the new length, the mid-calf length. I think is the ugliest thing ever created by any designer. And furthermore, I'd like to say a few words about the graduated income tax.
That's him hosting the mid-70s revival of What's My Line. And that was none other than Gene Rayburn being his usual obnoxious self on the panel.
You once said a marvelous thing on Personality, a show I was doing when I was on. He was asked what was the shortest romance he ever had. And he said, I was on a subway, and she was on the platform. And we looked at each other and smiled at what we thought we saw, and the train pulled out.
That's nice.
So I'm not
I
surprised
remember that now, but we never met at that time because the film that they did on me was done on the West Coast, and they just brought the film here for you to use on the show.
Right, but it was lovely film, and I'm not surprised at your writing because you're a gifted man and you say words in a good way.
Thank you.
And come back and play with us.
Thank you. Good
Thank
to see
you,
you.
Leonard.
You say words in a good way?
Well, let's face it, some people have a way with words, other people, not have a way, I guess.
And that was, of course, Leonard Nimoy Blyden was talking to, who is, of course, a Twilight Zone veteran himself. He had a supporting role in Season 3's A Quality of Mercy. Pip whisks Rocky away to a swanky bachelor pad.
You like it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's some pad, all right. Who's it belong to? Some phony politician?
Why, it belongs to you, Mr. Valentine. Well, that is, if you approve.
As proof, he shows him a nameplate outside the front door, which bears his name, Rocky Francis Valentine. Rocky gets cleaned up and dons a snazzy suit, which fits him perfectly, by the way, and sits down to a gourmet spread. He's about to chow down when something stops him.
You eat it.
But I don't eat. I haven't eaten in... it must be 2 or 3 centuries.
Anything wrong with it?
No.
Then eat it.
But I can't. I've forgotten how.
Now, if somebody said those words to you, wouldn't you at least bat an eye? Raise an eyebrow? Not Rocky, who apparently isn't fazed by the idea of just not eating for hundreds of years. He does, however, whip out his gun because something else has fazed him.
I get it. Give a guy some new clothes and a bath and then poison him, huh? Pretty smart, fatso, but not smart enough.
No effect whatsoever.
Oh, bulletproof vest, huh? Well, let's see how your head holds up.
Mr. Valentine, please.
Nothing. Again, nothing. Rocky slumps into a nearby chair, confused. He finds a glass of presumably excellent whiskey waiting for him.
Wait a minute. Where'd this come from? This wasn't here before. What's going on here? Where am I?
Mr. Valentine, do you remember when we met earlier today? I told you I was in a sense your guide, and you said you needed a guide like a hole in the head.
Yeah?
Well, as a matter of strict fact, you had a hole in the head only a short time before. A bullet hole.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The cops, I must be dead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so he is dead after all.
If I'm dead, then all of this, the joint, the clothes, the booze, then I must be in heaven. Yeah, that's it. That's it, I'm in heaven, right? And you're my guardian angel, something like that?
Oh, something like that, yes, Mr. Valentine.
Anything I want, huh?
Anything.
Rocky, that rascally opportunist, decides to take full advantage.
Right now I want $1 million in 5G notes and a chick that won't quit. I mean, it's like stacked, like beautiful, huh?
Regular listeners will, of course, recognize that line from our recurring TZ Babe jingle. It's crude and lowbrow and not at all PC, which I guess is why I love it so much. $1 million in cash materializes, which Rocky promptly throws up in the air like he just don't care. A gorgeous blonde appears out of nowhere and dances seductively. Rocky joins in and whoops it up like a complete and utter ass. Honestly, the only thing that would make this display more cartoony is if steam was pouring out of his ears. Now, when we come back from commercial, Rocky is in a casino, surrounded by a trio of babes and his trusty sidekick, Pip. Every spin of the roulette wheel comes up in his favor.
33 black.
Hey, how about that? I win again. Hey, Fats, come here. Come here. Put your money on the table, Fats. Right there, number 14 red. Rocky is hot tonight. Am I right, dolls?
I'm afraid I don't have any money, sir.
You don't have any money? Gee, what do they pay you, in halos or something?
Rocky tries his luck at the slots and wins big there, too. As he and his entourage leave the casino, a police officer strolls by.
Something bothering you, Mr. Valentine?
Yeah, him. Lousy screw.
Oh, shit! Straight out of context.
Thinks he's king of the hill just because he got a couple of inches on me.
Oh, dear, that was indiscreet of me.
Pip snaps his fingers, and suddenly the cop is a little kid. Aww. Rocky and friends pile into a waiting convertible and head back to the pad. But Rocky doesn't seem that into it. He takes Pip aside.
How come they let me in here, huh? See, when did I ever do anything good? How do I find out about this, huh?
Well, we have a hall of records here. Would you like me to take you there?
Was it open at this hour? I mean, it's almost light.
Oh, it's always open.
Well, all right, let's go.
Dissolve to the aforementioned Hall of Records, which consists of a mammoth set of stairs leading up to rows of filing cabinets. These are the same steps seen at the end of Time Enough at Last, which were originally built for 1960's The Time Machine, which starred, that's right, Rod the Thunder from Down Under Taylor.
Say, what's it like up there in outer space?
Well, it's like way out.
This is a beautiful set piece, dark and surreal. The sense of scale is amazing, and that overcast sky adds a quiet sort of menace to the scene. When Rocky and Pip reach the first row of filing cabinets, we see another set of stairs in the background leading up to another row of filing cabinets. I'm betting if they climbed up there would be another set of stairs and more filing cabinets, and so on, going on forever. There's something so clean and precise about it all. I kind of get an MC Escher vibe, like his impossible relativity staircases, or maybe a Mobius strip of stairs and filing cabinets instead of ants.
Henry Francis Valentine. Age of 6, slaughtered small dog. Well, why not? He bit me. Age of 7, stole 14 toys from dime store. Age of 8, organized street gang, the Angels. How about that, huh? That's what we call ourselves, the Angels. Yeah, it's a great little bunch. Age of 9, broke in the bicycle store. What is this, anyway?
Your record?
Well, you don't think it'd be some mistake, do you?
Not likely.
I can't figure it. But if it don't bother him, I ain't gonna let it bother me, you know what I mean?
Rocky heads back down the stairs.
Well, if you need me for anything, Mr. Valentine, just dial PIP.
Yeah.
Rocky exits the frame, and Pip turns to walk away and vanishes. Now, back at the casino, Rocky continues his perfect winning streak. He goes back to the pad and plays some cards with the ladies.
What do you got?
Straight flush.
Royal flush.
You win again, Mr. Valentine.
That's all I ever do in this nutty joint is win, win, win.
Is there anything else I can do for you?
That's Sandra Warner, one of Rocky's soulless but crazy hot prop women. She also plays Noreen, a chorus girl, in the Season 3 Twilight Zone episode, The Dummy.
The line is, this is so sudden. And in this case, it happens to be sudden.
Sandra Warner appeared as a cover model on a whopping 16 Exotica records in the 50s and 60s, mostly by Martin Denny. In fact, she's actually remembered as Exotica Girl. I actually own 2 of those albums. I had no idea that the gorgeous creature adorning them was a Twilight Zone veteran. She was also a singer and released an album of her own in 1961 called Fair and Warner.
Was in Berkeley Square that he met the girl with long black hair. He was lonely that night when she suddenly came inside. She smiled, it was strange and wild.
It goes without saying that she is ridiculously hot. She also had a twin sister named Sonia. Wait, so there were 2 of them? I'm gonna need a second. Okay, so soulless but crazy hot prop woman is basically offering her body up to Rocky on a silver platter, and he's not having it. He's bored and frustrated, which, I don't know, seems like the perfect time to engage in some carnal activities with his stable of lovelies, but no. Apparently, even an impromptu orgy won't satisfy this jackass.
Ow, ow, ow! Dumb broads. Who needs them?
Out of nowhere, a pool table appears. Rocky grabs a cue and promptly runs the table with a single shot. Great, something else he can't lose at. He picks up the phone and summons Pip, who appears immediately to serve and advise.
And I mean, everything is great, Hasty. Really, really great. It's just the way I always imagined it, except that just between you and me, Fats, I don't think I belong here. I don't think I fit in.
Oh, nonsense. Of course you do.
Oh, no, I mean it. I mean it. It's just somebody must have goofed. If I gotta stay here another day, I'm gonna go nuts. Look, I don't belong in heaven, see? I want to go to the other place.
Heaven? Whatever gave you the idea you were in heaven, Mr. Valentine? This is the other place.
Rocky reaches for the door, which is suddenly locked.
A scared, angry little man who never got a break. Now he has everything he's ever wanted, and he's going to have to live with it for eternity in the Twilight Zone.
You know, I could have saved us a whole lot of time by simply playing the bridge from the 1993 song Sacrifice by Elliot Murphy, which basically tells the whole story in 30 seconds.
TV was a petty thief shot by the police. He came to in Las Vegas in a penthouse suite. He had a magic butler, gave him all that he desired, a feast of wine and women till his passions were expired. He couldn't understand why a crook like him had died and gone to heaven when his life was full of sin. And when he shot pool and every ball quickly fell, he saw his butler was the devil, his penthouse was in hell.
A Nice Place to Visit was written by Charles Beaumont, who of course contributed many legendary Twilight Zones, classics like Shadow Play and The Howling Man. This one, it doesn't quite reach those heights. It's basically a one-liner, which I know many Twilight Zones kinda are, but you have to weigh the episode leading up to that punchline at the end. The episode itself is decent, not great, but certainly not lousy either. Larry Blyden kinda overdoes the gangster routine, especially since he's not really a gangster. He's a 2-bit thief. As far as we know, he's a lone wolf and not part of a gang or a racket or a syndicate. I don't want to go too deep here, but if Blyden is playing Rocky as a 30s gangster movie type, it's the wrong approach. He comes off as cheesy. You can't take him seriously. Now, If Blyden is method acting, and maybe his take on Rocky is that he's basically a poser and thinks that he should behave that way, then yeah, maybe it works. The role was originally intended for Mickey Rooney, but that fell through, so the part went to Blyden. Now, interestingly, Beaumont suggested that Rod Serling himself play Rocky, which makes no sense on any level. Not even the "it's so crazy it might just work" level. I'm betting he was kidding. Hoping he was kidding. There is a lot to like about A Nice Place to Visit. First and foremost, Sebastian Cabot is wonderful as Pip. You completely buy him as a guardian angel / guide to the afterlife, and that sudden turn at the end...
Whatever gave you the idea you were in heaven, Mr. Valentine? This is the other place!
...doesn't seem forced or out of left field. It's a seamless shift. And that laugh... I don't count this episode in the 4 Satan-centric episodes, since Pip is presumably not the actual devil, but he's close. Really interesting footnote about Sebastian Cabot. In 1972, he served as host and narrator for a television anthology series called Ghost Story. Cabot played Winston Essex, the owner of Mansfield House, a hotel where, weird stuff tended to happen. Each week, a different guest would check in and be assailed by some supernatural force or other, and Cabot was on hand to introduce the story and then wrap it up at the end.
Welcome to Mansfield House. My name is Essex, Winston Essex, and this is my home. I like to feel that it is home to my guests as well, as long as they remain. Here, gracious living is not totally a thing of the past. Here, they can relax, they can read, write, meditate, or, if they feel so inclined, watch television. Television. Perhaps the single most significant invention of the past few decades. Entertainment, instruction, fact, and fiction, available at the turn of a switch, and controlled. Turn a switch, the program changes. We can depend on it. We're in control. We select, we tune in, we change, we see what we want to see. But I wonder, what would happen if, just once, we weren't in control? And what would it be like if what we were compelled to see was absolutely astonishing?
Ghost Story premiered in March 1972 as a special presentation and then launched its regular season in September. Just as another supernatural anthology series, Rod Serling's post-Twilight Zone series Night Gallery was starting its third and final season. Comparisons between the two were probably inevitable, especially since both were on NBC. But by the end of the 72-73 season, both series were canceled. At least Night Gallery was semi-successful early on. Ghost Story never really took off. In fact, they revamped it halfway through and renamed it Circle of Fear, which had no narrator, so Sebastian Cabot was abruptly out of a job. He only did a few more voiceover gigs after that, and 5 years later, in 1977, he passed away. Back to A Nice Place to Visit. As far as production value, that Hall of Records sequence is spectacular. Visually, the whole episode is quite good. This is yet another directing job by John Brom, who directed 12 episodes total, far more than any other director. And there's quite a bit of female eye candy on display, which, I'm never gonna complain about.
You pig!
So overall, the episode is good, just maybe not great. So much of season 1 is excellent, so the more, merely good entries tend to pale in comparison. A Nice Place to Visit does seem to resonate, however, if your barometer measures pop culture references. In addition to the Elliott Murphy song, They Might Be Giants recorded 2 different demo versions of their song Hell Hotel in the early 80s. Not sure why they never recorded a proper studio version, but whatever. The last verse of the song details the hell, not heaven reveal. Those lyrics might have been a bit hard to make out. Google is your friend if you're curious, but the key lines read as follows. We are here to make you happy. That's all we are programmed for. But you say this pleasure's a pain for you. Sebastian C. could tell you more. Well, 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 welcome to Hell Hotel. We've talked before about how Vince Gilligan of The X-Files and Breaking Bad fame is a big Twilight Zone fan. Well, Matthew Weiner of Mad Men and The Sopranos fame is also a big fan. And he slipped a reference to A Nice Place to Visit into an episode of The Sopranos entitled Chasing It.
It's like Eddie Valentine. The guy from Philly with the polio leg and the built-up shoe?
No, from the fucking Twilight Zone. You must have seen that one. He's a small-time hoodie gay shot.
Maybe you should start sucking cock instead of watching TV Land.
Futurama also referenced it in one of their Scary Door bits. The Scary Door is a fictional TV show that the fictional characters of Futurama watch, and it very obviously parodies the Twilight Zone.
You're entering a realm which is unusual. Maybe it's magic, or contains some kind of monster. The second one. Prepare to enter the Scary Door. Please send the man round back and pick up Clyde Smith, a professional gambler who's about to have an unfortunate accident.
A casino where I'm winning? That car must have killed me. I must be in heaven. A casino where I always win? That's boring. I must really be in hell!
No, Mr. Smith. You're not in heaven or hell. You're on an airplane.
There's a gremlin destroying the plane! You've got to believe me!
Why should I believe you? You're Hitler!
No! Ava Braun, help me!
They also threw in Nightmare at 20,000 Feet and The Man in the Bottle there. Now, in 1979, Essex Productions, no relation to Winston Essex, Essex Productions was one of the world's largest film companies at the time, and in 1979, they released For the Love of Pleasure, a feature-length film about a thief who gets shot during a robbery and then, in the afterlife, has endless sex with a variety of women until he gets tired of it. I think you know where this is going.
I can't take any more of this. I used to love food and sex, you know. In fact, when I was alive, that's all I used to think about. This is too much, you know. Take it away.
I can't, Simon. This is the way it is.
Then get me out of heaven. And how the fuck I got here in the first place? I'm a fucking thief. I never went to fucking church a day in my life. I don't belong in heaven.
Simon, whoever said this was heaven?
And no, before you ask, this title isn't part of my home video collection. I found it posted online. Really easily, actually. Hey, I'll go to any lengths for you, dear listeners, up to and including suffering through sweaty, hairy 70s porn. Now, in all fairness, For the Love of Pleasure does actually aspire to tell a story amid all the boning and moaning, even though it's not really an original one. Funny. This is the first time I've ever heard of the Twilight Zone inspiring porn, but I can certainly imagine an entire niche genre full of TZ porn parodies. To Serve Manhood, Ring a Dong Girl, A Passage for Humpet, A Game of Pocket Pool, I Smack the Booty Electric, and When Her Thighs Were Opened, Black Leather I can keep going. I can do this all day. But I won't. I'll stop there. But in exchange, y'all have to promise me that you aren't going to send me emails and Facebook messages whining that you're offended.
What's the matter? You people uptight or something?
This podcast is rated explicit for a reason. But we're all adults here. Lighten up. It's okay to laugh at a dirty joke. Where were we? Oh yeah, pop culture references and parodies of A Nice Place to Visit. Now, before all those examples I just went through, there was an apparent retelling of the story on an ABC radio show called Theater 5 called The Land of Milk and Honey in 1965. It wasn't credited as a remake, but it's very obviously patterned after A Nice Place to Visit. I would have played it for you, but alas, that bastard Tom Elliott played it on his podcast when he covered the episode back in 2013. And you know our rule, if Tom played it, we don't. But never fear, kids. It's easy to track down online. Again, Google is your friend, but here's a taste.
Johnny, my boy, get hold of yourself. Don't you realize that now you have everything you ever wanted?
No, I've had it. I can't go on. Till the end of time, every single minute in this place is torture.
But, Johnny!
Ah, shut up. I hate this place. You hear me? If you think this is my idea of heaven, you're crazy.
Johnny, what do you mean?
Just what I said. I wish I'd been sent to hell.
You wish you'd been sent to... Oh, but my dear fellow, where do you think you are?
But check this out. There's an earlier radio show with a similar premise that predates the Twilight Zone episode by 25 years. The Fleischmann's Yeast Hour presented a one-act drama in 1935 called The Other Place. And hey, Tom didn't play that one, so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I give you The Other Place.
By Rank Pictures, we present now the eminent English screen star, Mr. Colin Clive. You've seen Mr. Clive most recently in The Man Who Broke the Bank at Monte Carlo, and as the monster-making scientist in the Frankenstein pictures. He is in New York now, rehearsing for Gilbert Miller's production of the London hit Libel, scheduled to open here during Christmas week. You will hear Mr. Clive tonight in a remarkable one-act play by John Balderston, author of Berkeley Square. Appearing with him is one of New York's most expert players, Leo G. Carroll. Colin Clive with Leo G. Carroll in The Other Place by John Balderston. The scene, a lonely mountain road in Wales. A high-powered motor car is seen traveling towards it. Traveling at terrific speed for such a road. Faster and faster it comes, cutting sharply around curves, swaying from side to side. The man at the wheel of that car is either a desperate fool or else he's bent on killing himself. There's a sharp curve ahead now. He'll never make it. He's going to crash. He'll crash. Look out! There he goes!
Strange. Very strange. Why, a moment ago I was in a car on my way to St. David's. Or was it only a moment ago? The road was... the road. That tree. Oh, Lord, I remember now. The car skidded on a curve and... good heavens.
Faded one wish, sir.
And what's that?
Eternal youth. I've taken 30 years from your age, sir.
Oh, so I'm 28 again, eh?
Forever, sir.
Oh, that's fine. And you? You ought to take orders from me.
Not only take them, sir. Execute them.
I see. You're part of my reward. Would you mind if I call you Clarkson? My old butler, you know. Queer place. Not what I expected, this. But what about the halos and the harps?
Well, they often ask about them at first, sir, before they quite understand. Here you are, sir.
Oh, just as advertised. But I don't know how to pay this thing. I suppose I've got to learn.
Not at all, sir. You've got to do nothing here, sir, excepting whatever you please.
Oh, that's fine. Well, is this my celestial mansion? Seems a bit bare, Clarkson.
Whatever furnishings, pictures, or hangings you desire, sir, shall be installed at once.
Why, I can have whatever I like, regardless of expense.
In this, as in all things, sir, you speak and I obey.
What, absolutely everything?
Subject only, sir, to restrictions imposed by the nature of this place.
And what are they?
You must wish for nothing unpleasant or painful for yourself or others. Pain, suffering, struggle cannot exist on our plane.
Just as advertised. Well, how about some food? I'm as hungry as a devil.
Please, sir, never say that. Not here. What will you have for luncheon, sir?
Oh, I'll leave it to you. Something filling. Can I smoke up here?
Corona, sir? Here you are, sir.
Well, of course, you're all teetotalers here.
Will you try some Veuve Clicquot 1906? And before that, a Chateau Lafite 74? And a Chartreuse with your coffee, sir?
Well, I'm damned.
These expletives, sir. In this place, sir.
Oh, I beg your pardon, yes, sir. I should say I'm blessed. You know, I never expected to get a drink if I was saved.
Luncheon is served, sir.
Clarkson, take this halo away, will you? It tickles my ears.
Time passes, and eternity lies ahead, just around the corner.
Best lunch I ever ate. Great stuff, that ambrosia. Or was it manna? This is what I call life.
Eternity, sir?
Oh, yes. And this furniture, these paintings, are these things originals? How much is this stuff in this room worth?
There's nothing here to buy, sir, since you've only to ask to receive. So we can't speak of things here in terms of money.
Oh, yes, of course, that would be true. Then all these masterpieces aren't worth $1. Anybody can have these things just as good.
Yes, sir. But if you'd like money, I can bring you any number of millions. In gold or notes, just as you prefer.
Well, what good is it if it won't buy anything?
Oh, none, sir. But still, some gentlemen, when they first come, like to finger it. So we give it to them just as we give jewels to a lady.
But every other woman can have stones just as fine.
Yes, sir. And she soon gets tired of queen's necklaces.
Yes, I can see she would. Do you have movies and theaters?
The originals of all plays, films, and music are here. Performances take place whenever you wish, sir. You select the programs yourself.
Why, it's even better than the advertisements promised. You know, I've always been so tired in the evenings to enjoy a show. I might make up for it here.
You'll have plenty of time to do that, sir.
Indeed. Oh, marriage and giving in marriage. What about that, Clarkson?
I understand, sir. I'll collect a harem this afternoon. Your specifications, sir.
Oh, come, Clarkson. Come. I'm a good Christian, nothing like that.
Just as you wish, sir.
But if you could introduce me to some nice girls, you know, just in a quiet, friendly way.
Well, certainly, sir. So stupid of me. I'd forgotten that you were an Anglo-Saxon. What do you wish to do now, sir?
See the sights, Clarkson. I've not been outside my mansion yet, you know. I want to look over your town or country or whatever you call it.
You shall see the great palaces of the thrones, powers, principalities, the temples of jasper and emerald, the streets of gold and the gates of pearl.
Oh, I thought they were figures of speech.
Oh, no. Not here, sir.
Well, come along and show me. Oh, and Clarkson, you might clear out all this French furniture. Let's have some Italian old masters and fittings to match.
Which school do you prefer, sir?
Oh, I don't know one school from the other, but get me the best from all schools.
As you would say on earth, sir, the most expensive?
That's it. Market price sets the value. But all this stuff up here has no price. That's what beats me.
It's beyond price, sir.
Well, what are you going to show me now? Will bowl me over. Eh, Clarkson?
All our guests are very much impressed, sir, for the first few days.
Time passes, a year or so as we measure time here on Earth. The gentleman of the motor car is seen reclining on a heavily gilded couch, his feet cocked up on two crouching golden cupids. He wearily throws a crossword puzzle to the floor.
Clarkson, I wish you were here.
You wished for me, sir?
Clarkson, these ladies I meet are getting on my nerves. Too stunning, too clever, too charming, too obliging. What are their names again?
Helen, Thais, Cleopatra, Madame du Barry, Lady Hamilton.
Yes. I've read about two of them, but what made you pick them out for me?
You gave me no direction, sir, so I applied what you said about your interior decorating.
What are you talking about?
The best from all schools. And the most expensive.
Well, this evening I want to meet some ordinary women. This everlasting perfection palls, Clarkson. It palls. You know, Clarkson, what I'd really like is some work.
Whatever you wish, sir. What kind shall I provide?
Well, how can I work here? What is work?
In this case, sir, something to amuse you, sir.
Oh, that isn't work. Work is trying to do or reach out or get something you want. I used to work for money. But whether it's money, a woman, a bird, or a mountaintop you're after, you must want what you work for. Now, when I want anything, I get it at once. Therefore, I can't work for it. Nothing to work for, no work. So I must loaf through eternity.
Oh, very well reasoned, sir. That's how the philosophers talk for the first 10 years or so after they come.
And what do they do after that?
What the rest do, sir? Exist.
Well, do people in the...
I don't know, sir. I've not been there since souls began to arrive.
Oh, you have been there, then?
Not for 40,000 years, sir. And then I left in a hurry.
Really? You know, Clarkson, there's one thing left that really would pick me up.
Only one, sir? Already?
I'd like to see the world again. I couldn't go back just for a visit.
The only thing you can't do here, sir, is leave. But these will serve you just as well. With these binoculars, you can see the world. They're very remarkable glasses, sir, specially designed to gratify the strongest human passion.
And what is that?
A curiosity. You can pick out the star Earth, then look at a continent, then focus down to a city, then to a house, and then see right through the walls, and into every room. Many arrivals here are amused for years with these, sir.
Give them here. Oh, I know a lot of people down there whose private lives I like to investigate. Give them to me, Clarkson, quickly, give them...
Time passes, and eternity is young. We see the gentleman of the motor car walking impatiently back and forth across a marble pavement, curbed with gold.
I want you. Don't pop so much, man.
Very well, sir.
Clarkson, I'm bored. Bored to extinction.
Not extinction, sir. Not here.
I'm sick to death of this eternal life.
That paradox has escaped you before, sir.
I've always worked at something. By giving them whatever I want, you prevent me from working for it.
You made that clear before, sir. It can't be helped.
Well, what am I to do today? I'm tired of everything.
Of watching the world, sir, so soon.
Those cursed binoculars. Clarkson, I never thought myself a saint down there, but what I've seen since you gave me those glasses, things seem all right when you look at a crowd in the street, at the outside of things. But when you see inside, oh. Well, why don't you suggest something? Is this my reward, to be bored to the end of time?
Strictly speaking, sir, there is no end to time. The phrase we use here, sir, is from everlasting to everlasting.
Everlasting fiddlesticks. I want you to tell me what to do.
More ladies, sir?
There's nothing in that, Clarkson, when you only have to wish.
But any uncertainty would mean you mightn't get what you want. And what you desire, that you must have.
Why must I?
Order, sir, from General Headquarters.
Well, I call it rotten. It's driven me to drink, that's what it has. Well, the trouble is I can't get drunk.
Well, if you were drunk, you would be ill afterwards. You'd have headaches.
But I want to be ill. I want headaches.
There can be no illness, no ache, sir, as I made clear to you when you came.
Well, what is there left, then? What are you standing there for like one of those frozen heathen statues? Suggest something.
Oh, please don't be angry with me, sir. I carry out my orders, sir. My orders are to do the very best for you I can. I'm in the same boat myself, sir.
And you're bored here, too?
Oh, infinitely, sir.
You don't show it?
I believe I did, sir, for the first few thousand years.
Good. Good Lord.
You mustn't say that, sir. Here.
But there must be something left for me to do.
Well, you might experiment to find more appropriate clothes, sir.
Well, how often have I told you that I won't wear wings or nightgowns? This suit and this hat are all I have to remind me of life, where I sweated and was kicked about and was happy, even if I didn't know it. And what's more, when these clothes wear out, you've got to replace them.
Very good, sir.
Why, I was wearing this suit when my motor crashed, and you asked me to give it up. My last real experience. My last thrill. You can't imagine what agony I felt from my crushed thigh before I fainted. My last pain.
I don't know what to propose, sir. But when there's anything you want...
There is pain, that's what it is. I want to suffer.
I'm afraid you can't do that here, sir.
Well, I'm sick of heaven.
Sick of heaven, sir?
Well, I want to want things I can't have.
a contradiction in terms, sir.
But I can't stand this confounded everlasting bliss.
We all have to stand it, sir.
Well, whatever the devils do to me, it can't be as bad as this. I want to go to hell.
Why, sir, wherever do you think you are? This is hell, sir.
Now, the existence of this radio drama begs the question. Did Charles Beaumont knowingly crib the idea when he wrote A Nice Place to Visit? The episode was produced in 1960, so it was a few years before he started showing signs of the Alzheimer's disease that would ultimately end his life in 1967 at the young age of 38. Some accounts blame Pick's disease. I'm not sure he was ever given a definitive diagnosis, but who knows? His mind may have been affected earlier than 1963 when his illness first became obvious. And look, I'm a Charles Beaumont fan. I hate the idea that he could have plagiarized anything. And is it that original an idea to begin with? That one might mistake hell for heaven? I gotta tell you, it was tough finding a bookend episode for A Nice Place to Visit. I did consider the third season episode A Game of Pool, since both stories deal on some level with the afterlife with a gambling vibe, plus both feature characters referred to as fats. But ultimately, it was too thin a connection, so I decided against it. Plus, A Game of Pool is one of my favorites, and it's also a Jack Klugman episode, so yeah, that one deserves its own special spotlight. I dug through the rest of the original series, the 80s series, the 2000 series, nothing. And then I went to the next logical place, Night Gallery. And there it was, big as life, or not, as we'll see. A segment that, while not directly connected to A Nice Place to Visit, does have some vaguely similar themes.
Our final selection this evening, an import from that other region, that infernal inferno down below, offered to you now in living color and with a small scent of sulfur. Our painting is called Hell's Bells.
Hell's Bells first aired on November 17th, 1971, the fourth and last segment in that week's episode. Unlike The Twilight Zone, Night Gallery presented multiple stories of varying lengths each week. Hell's Bells is a 9-minute quickie. We open on a dark road at night. We're in some groovy dude's car, and he's driving incredibly erratically. Maybe he's drunk? We're not really sure. He promptly loses control and crashes. His car explodes, which triggers a pretty trippy montage depicting his passage from life to death, in which demons shout out his various sins. And then suddenly, he's in a pretty generic-looking waiting room, kind of like a DMV or something. He bangs on a door that leads, I don't know, somewhere. Then he tries to open it. The doorknob breaks off in his hand, which he absently shoves into his pocket. He pulls a stick of chewing gum out of his man bag and carelessly tosses the wrapper onto the floor, which causes a cleaning woman to appear out of nowhere.
Slob! You are a slob!
Hey, lady, is this it?
Is this what?
You know, hell.
No, this is the waiting room. I don't know what you think this is all about, young man, but this is no pig pen. Neat. You've got to be neat.
Don't get uptight with me, lady.
Fat lady!
Wait, she wants him to call her fat?
I'm hip.
Oh, he's into it. That look he gives her. Maybe hell is just the place for a swinging hepcat chubby chaser. He tries to explain his situation, but she's got better things to do and promptly vanishes.
So this is it, huh? Hell. Man, how bad can it be?
Is that really a question you want to ask out loud while you're waiting to get into hell? We then get another montage, this time a selection of illustrations by Gustave Doré, depicting different aspects of hell from Dante's Inferno, specifically the following in order of appearance: Dante and Virgil among the heretics, Dante and Nicholas III, devils confronting Dante and Virgil, transformation of Alegno, and Bertrand de Born displaying his head. This is a really cool bit here. Problem is, they're all superimposed over the Hep Cat's face, who incidentally is played by John Aston, a bona fide TZ veteran. He had a minor role in the season 2 episode 100 Yards Over the Rim.
You figure that Apache country is just due south. That's what you said we were looking for, isn't it? It's this way, Chris. We've been doing a lot of talking and a lot of thinking. We figure we ought to turn back.
Y'all most likely recognize him as Gomez from TV's The Addams Family. He's also the adopted dad of actor Sean Astin, most recently seen in Stranger Things Season 2 on Netflix. That is such a great show. Well, it seems our dude's wait is over. A door slides open and behind it is a studio apartment. I mean, okay, I've lived in some pretty shitty apartments in my day, but they weren't what I would call hellish. Now he finds a turntable with an impossibly high stack of records on it. See, kids, people used to stack records on top of each other on their record players, so that when one was done, the next one would drop down and play after it. I'm a vinyl enthusiast who takes meticulous care of his records, so this is an absolutely horrific thing to witness. It's so rough on the vinyl. Jesus.
Wow, that's the most fantastic stack of records I've ever seen. Maybe they got one of my groups here.
So he fires up the turntable and is horrified to hear... Well, that's way too square for a Hep Cat like him. He tries to turn it off, but it keeps right on playing. He pulls that doorknob out of his pocket. Yeah, see, that was weird, right? You knew that was going to show up at some point. And drops it on the floor to summon the cleaning lady. She reappears.
Hey, can you do something about that music?
Slob!
She picks up the doorknob and disappears again. And then suddenly there's an old man in the room.
Nice weather for this time of year.
Hey, man. Am I glad to see you. I thought I was going to have to wait alone in this room. Hey, can you tell me, what time does the next group leave for hell?
Of course, it's colder than last Tuesday, but no point in worrying about that. It's warmer than it was 2 weeks ago come Thursday.
Hey, you're right, man. That's beautiful. We got to talk about other things. Get our minds off this place and that music. Yeah. Hey, isn't that something about the Beatles splitting up?
Best thing for beetles is a tincture of arsenic. Of course, down on the farm, we used to use old-fashioned zinc powder. Rain would wash it off till Granddaddy mixed it with glue.
No, man. I'm talking about the group.
Baby had the croup once. Grandma mixed up some camphor and boiled it in sulfur.
Man, where's the canned laugh track when you need it? I mean, I guess I could add it in, maybe a rim shot or two, but nah. This episode isn't earning it.
You know something, man? You are boring. Yeah, you are a bore. This whole place is boring. Bummer!
And then a middle-aged couple appears, decked out like tourists in matching Hawaiian shirts, and offer to help alleviate our pal's boredom.
You're in luck. Yes, sir, Reed, luck. Little woman here is going to show you the 8,500 slides she took of our trip down to Tijuana, Mexico.
How many slides?
8,500.
Oh, no, man, no. Come on, I want to see the devil. Where are you, man? Show your ugly face.
And then old Beelzebub himself appears in a ridiculously cheesy velour devil costume, complete with a sparkly, bedazzled pitchfork.
Having a good time?
Are you the devil?
I am.
Hey, man, that's far out. Hey, tell me, what is this put on?
I beg your pardon?
No, I mean, how long are you going to keep me in this dumb room? I mean, when do we go to hell? The whips and the chains, the boiling oil, snakes, all that stuff.
And here comes the punchline.
This is it?
What do you mean, this is it? This is hell?
My dear boy, hell is never what you expect it to be. But for you, this is it. Don't you like it?
Oh, man, it's a downer.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
And then the devil drops an interesting tidbit about the nature of things in the afterlife.
You know, it's a curious thing, but they have exactly the same room up there.
You mean that guy, those slide people, this wallpaper? They got that in heaven?
Yes, you see, while this room is hell for you, absolute beastly hell, up there, the identical room is someone else's idea of heaven. Think about that. Bye.
The devil disappears, leaving our crestfallen Hepcat hero to wallow in despair.
Bummer.
So there's that. God, that was awful. Night Gallery was a lot more uneven than the Twilight Zone. In other words, it exhibited a lot less brilliance and a lot more, whatever the opposite of brilliance is. And in all fairness, there are a number of really good night galleries, but this ain't one of them. I mean, it's obviously intended as a quick trifle, basically a one-liner joke, kind of like A Nice Place to Visit, but much less ambitious. Night Gallery did a lot of stupid, quick comedy bits like this, basically to either cleanse the palate between the longer, more serious stories, or to pad out each episode to fill an hour, probably both. I'm not going to go into Night Gallery's troubled history here, but I will point out that Serling didn't enjoy the same creative control he had in his Twilight Zone days, and he contributed far fewer teleplays.
Once again, there appears to be a considerable difference of opinion. I wanted a series with distinction. I have no interest in a series which is purely and uniquely suspenseful, but makes no comment about anything. But all they seem to want is Mannix in a cemetery. When I complain, they pat me on the head, condescend, and hope I'll go away. On the Twilight Zone, I took the bows, but I also took the brickbats, because when it was bad, it was usually my fault. But when it's bad on the Night Gallery, I have nothing to do with it, yet my face is on it all the time.
That, of course, wasn't actually Rod Serling. It's actor Mitch Greenberg who provided the voice of Serling for the PBS American Masters documentary Rod Serling, submitted for your approval in 1995. Now, I've extolled the virtues of this documentary here on the podcast before, and I will happily do it again. If you are at all a fan of the Twilight Zone and or Rod Serling, and I assume you are since you're here to begin with, you need to see this. It was released on DVD by itself, then again in the Season 5 Definitive Edition Twilight Zone DVD set, but it didn't carry over to the Blu-rays, which is a shame. It's in black and white, and I bet it would look great in high definition. There is a kind of crappy, ratty version on YouTube. I'll put a link in the show notes.
Well, that's pretty far out.
But hey, at least Serling didn't write Hell's Bells, so he's not really to blame. Jeez, this thing is just, it's painful to watch. The main character's constant post-hippie cool dude routine may have been tolerable in 1972, but goddamn does it feel dated now. The whole thing is just stupid. And that devil, he's just plain silly, man. He reminds me of John Lovitz playing the devil on Saturday Night Live.
You, watching this at home, worship me. I command you, become my willing thralls and live eternally. Oh, the sweet sublime feeling of complete obedience to your evil master. Come, serve me, the Prince of Darkness. I command it. Serve me. Let's go. Wait 1 second. Obey me.
I do like the idea that heaven and hell can be exactly the same thing. It's all dependent on one's point of view. It reminds me of The Great Divorce, in which C.S. Lewis presents a hell in which its inhabitants aren't fully aware that they're in hell. They perceive their existence as simply an extension of the life they knew on Earth. Lewis's damned souls do have the ability to cross over into heaven. The cost is the relinquishing of their pride, their jealousy, their gluttony. basically all the things that got them into hell in the first place, which they guard surprisingly jealously. Rocky Valentine seems at least somewhat willing to give up his unsavory earthly vices, but there's no indication that a way out is even available to him. So it seems his eternity will be spent gambling, drinking, and screwing. Yeah, that sounds real hellish. You can't see me, but I'm rolling my eyes. Like hard. Like so hard it hurts. While the fundamentalist heaven and hell concept is a fun, dramatic conceit, I don't believe for a second that those polar opposites comprise whatever existence we might have after we've sloughed off our respective mortal coils. I'm not knocking those who may have more traditional spiritual beliefs, and I'm certainly not suggesting that you adopt my philosophy. I just don't buy the either-or thing. It's too simple, basic. If you're a shitty person, you burn for all eternity in an endless pit of despair. If you're a good person, you waft about in the clouds with wings and a shiny halo and sing pretty songs. Where do you draw the line? If I'm an asshole who drinks too much and doesn't go to church, do I deserve the same fate as a child molester? If I pay my taxes and don't beat my wife, does that entitle me to the same eternal paradise as someone truly selfless, truly charitable like Mother Teresa? I do like Dante's idea that hell has many levels based on the severity of one's transgressions, and through purgatorial suffering, one can claw one's way up and eventually out of hell. I said I like it. I didn't say I necessarily believe it. Here's what I believe, or at least suspect. We're all gods. We're all Satans. We are both ends of the spectrum and everything in between. And the true core struggle of existence is the never-ending attempt to reconcile our dual natures. And at the end of it all, well, fuck, I don't know. I don't believe there's a heaven or a hell at the end. I think, or suspect, that we keep right on struggling. We come back again and again in different skins with different names, over and over, ad infinitum. But what's the ultimate overarching point of it all? If I knew, seriously, if I knew, do you think I'd tell you? And rob you of the experience of figuring it out for yourself? Come on. That's it for this time, kids. You got a bone to pick? You can holler at us on Facebook and or Tumblr. Just search for @ZonePod to locate us. You can also lambast us directly. Just shoot us a good old-fashioned email at zonepod@gmail.com. Now, kids, if you find yourself in a dreamy wonderland where every one of your heart's desires is granted without question, and you're positively drowning in all the things you love, don't be a Rocky Valentine and question it. Shut up and enjoy it. I know I would. Man, that may be the single most questionable piece of advice ever given on this show. But honestly, if you're looking to me for advice, here, try this. Don't rob jewelry stores. Better? See you on the flip side, kids. As always, play nice.
Beauty, talent, fame, money, refinement, top skill and brain. But all the things you try to hide will be revealed on the other side. The afterlife, we're headed for a serious ride. Now you make the scene, make the furnace, but tomorrow, yes, it is a surprise.
shadow.